I've summoned you here for a purpose.
TransformYourGame.net. Hey, it's Kent with TransformYourGame.net, here to talk to you guys about the only Tier 0 deck in the Wave 5 meta, and that is Cog Combo. So we're going to be doing a deck profile on that today. But first, the other elephant in the room, Peace Through Tyranny. This card has to go for the Wave 5 meta to be anywhere near balanced, and it needs to be replaced by another double orange pip card. This card says I win in too many decks. Too many decks, and especially this one. So this card, I'm strongly hoping that the rules committee, Carl, Dan, we know you guys are out there, will get rid of this and replace it with something else. Okay. On to the deck. First we have our spotlight character, and that is Sergeant Cog. This whole deck revolves around him. Absolutely fantastic card. I think it is the best SRT in the game when this deck exists, and he's maybe the worst SRT in the game when the deck doesn't exist. There's been 3 times that this deck has been playable, and they've had to either change the rulings with Peace Through Tyranny, not allowing you to take more than 1 extra turn per game, or the banning of multi-mission gear kind of made it unplayable once again. After I played this deck at Pro Play Tour Dallas and played it on stream and killed my opponent on the first turn, they banned multi-mission gear 3 days later, and now they printed something that makes it work again. But anyways, Cog, best SRT in the game by far right now. His stats are unimportant in bot mode. What makes him important is turning into his weaponizer mode, and that allows you to draw 3 upgrades and play 3 upgrades every time he triggers. So absolutely fantastic card. Yes. Just really ridiculous. Next card we have is Red Heat, another major component of the game. He has stealth in alt mode, where he is a truck, and again, his stats aren't really that important. It's when you flip him over and you're able to pitch a white card to basically swap parts. And swap parts was banned for a reason, and now it's back out on Red Heat. And that goes really well with Cog when you're able to move him to another bot, and he's able to trigger all over again. The next card we have is Fix It. He's a 4-star specialist. His stats are really low in health. So if you play against this deck, if you can focus in on Fix It and kind of burn him down with direct damage or something, that's the best way to beat it. But even without the full lineup of bots, the deck can still kill you. The last character is Eject. And this is something that Matt Brower, our teammate, found this a long time ago, and what's great about that is you can attack with Cog, they have to swing back into Cog. You leave Eject in this mode, you attack, and he still has stealth in this mode when he's tapped, whereas Red Heat and Fix It do not. Okay, well, we've got 1 star left, and this is where the mistake was made and brought this deck back to life, and that is more guns. And it's a 1-star stratagem, so it fits perfectly. And it says, once per game, when one of your weaponizers is in upgrade mode and put into the KO area, return it to the battlefield, upgrading one of your characters. So what's going to happen is Cog is going to die. You're going to get the 3 triggers from him, draw 3, and then play 3 upgrades. And one of those upgrades is probably going to be a weapon, which will replace Cog, send him to the KO, and bring him back to go on another character, wherever you want. And then he gets his 3 triggers again, 3 upgrades, and 3 draw. Then you're going to swap parts and just keep moving him around. It's pretty ridiculous. So let's get into the battle deck. First thing we have is our suite of upgrades that allow you to draw a card when they are played. We've got 3 copies of Drill Arms, 3 copies of Crushing Size, 3 copies of Scrapper Gauntlets, 3 copies of Field Communicator, which is easily the best upgrade in this deck. It allows you to play another card for free, which gets really ridiculous if you flip the right thing. Okay, those are the main ones that allow you to keep comboing off. Now, how do you make sure that they kill Cog? Because when Cog dies, the game is over. Like, you will win that turn as soon as Cog dies. So what we have is we've got to put your opponent basically in a tunnel and make them do what we want. We want them to attack Cog. The best way to do that is, of course, with Bravery. So we have 3 of those. And then what is basically another Bravery, Heroism. So they end up having to attack Cog, and then if they don't, it all kind of goes back onto Cog anyway. And as soon as Cog dies, the game is over. We have 2 multi-tools. Now this is another weapon that when it replaces Cog triggers more guns, and then Cog gets to do all of his crazy stuff once again. So we have 2 multi-tool. Every once in a while, you're going to use the play it on a specialist and play another upgrade, but not really, because you get so many free upgrade plays with Cog. Next we have 3 defensive driving and 1 holomatter projector. Obviously horrible, and Cammy and Crash is a really bad thing, especially if they're going at Fix It first, because he is the most vulnerable target. Have another one of these in the sideboard just for horrible decks. Defensive driving is also fantastic because you can discard it to Red Heat and use his swap parts ability. I used this at Pro Play Tour Dallas because everyone was thinking that Caliburst was going to be a great answer for combo decks, and it turns out Caliburst was not, because defensive driving exists. Alright, so there's our upgrades. Let's talk about our actions. The card that needs to be banned, Peace Through Tyranny. I usually, if I draw it, I will try and play it immediately, because usually when Cog dies, the game is over. However, when you're doing that on the first turn that you're able to, say your opponent played first, which is what you always want them to do, by the way, and then you play Peace Through Tyranny, sometimes your deck can brick and you can only draw actions. Now there's very few actions in the deck, so that's pretty rare, but it can happen. So yeah, I do recommend playing it as soon as possible, but there have been times where I wish it wasn't even in the deck. It's rare, but yeah, sometimes the deck will brick. Okay, so 3 Peace Through Tyranny, 3 Brainstorm. This is an absolute must, of course. You need that to play your next card, which is Equipment Enthusiast. Now, typically you're going to play Equipment Enthusiast for at least 8, usually all 9 cards though, and that allows you to draw your entire deck rather quickly. We've got Confidence, which I've used this early in a situation where I didn't get a Bravery or a Heroism, which was really rare early on in the game, and I will use it to dig for a Peace Through Tyranny if they're about to be able to swing into one of my other characters besides Cog. It can also help you dig when you're popping off your combo for Equipment Enthusiast or another Brainstorm. Gotta have 3 of this, it's fantastic. Quartermaster. This card, sometimes if you didn't draw an Equipment Enthusiast, for some reason they're just all at the bottom of your deck, this is a great replacement. And It's also fantastic when you flip it with Field Communicator because it's another free Cog trigger. So you'll get to move Cog again to another bot and get his 3 draw and 3 upgrades. It's absolutely fantastic. This can also flip Confidence in a jam, or sometimes it's a free equipment enthusiast. It's really fantastic. Usually it's probably going to get an upgrade that lets you draw something, but that's not bad either, okay? So absolutely fantastic. And the last card, I'm sure you all know what it is by this point, Daring Escape. Combo decks, I think, are really, really cool. This is the type of player that I am, and I think that combo decks should exist. However, going off on your opponent's, or on your first turn, your first turn that you can play this, combo decks like that should not exist at all. Combo decks should be able to, you know, pop off about turn 3 or 4 if they do all the right things, but turn 1 is just absurd. Alright, so let's look at the potential answers for the combo deck. First, I think is really obvious. You've got Gears and Sabotage. That can just shut it down cold. Or the other answer is Private Turbo Board. Alright, so Gears plus Sabotage basically says none of your fancy upgrades that keep triggering over and over and over when you play them, they don't trigger at all. So it's very, very difficult to go off and pop your combo with Gears and Sabotage in play. Private Turbo Board, that's another like really difficult card to deal with. Back in Pro Play Tour Dallas, it was okay because it says your opponent can't play more than 2 cards during their turn. But at Pro Play Tour Dallas, I had figured out a way about a week or so before to combat this because I could pop off on my opponent's turn with Cog because of multi-mission gear, giving you that free action over and over. Once they banned that, they basically made it to where that will never happen again. And now you have to go off on your own turn, but you have to kill this guy first, or Gears first. So our team, we are looking at ways to combat this. I think we've got a solution working. So this may not be the be-all, end-all, just like totally stop the deck forever and ever. But maybe it will still hold up. We've got some things to test for sure. But anyways, that's the deck, and hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll be talking to you soon.